afternoon, and welcome to the regular meeting of the City of Glendale Commission on the Status of Women. This is our February monthly meeting, and as you can see, we're all in red to honor February Heart Month as well as Valentine's Day. If we could have roll call, please.
Sure. Vice Chair Burns.
Present.
Commissioner Devine.
Here.
Commissioner Kajayan.
Present.
Ex officio Mirsahanian.
Here.
Ex officio Sahakian.
Present.
Commissioner Wiseman.
Present.
Chair Miller.
Present.
Report regarding the posting of the agenda. The agenda for the February 10, 2014 meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside of City Hall on or before February 7, 2014. At item 2, we have introductions and presentations. A, non-traditional careers. Deborah Jarrod, FAIA Lead AP Partner at Gruen Associates, Principal Architect on the city's brand and Central Library renovation projects.
Thanks, Ms. Hidalgo. Chair Miller, members of the Commission, I'd like to provide a brief introduction of Ms. Jarrod before I call her up. Ms. Jarrod joined Gruen Associates, a 65-person broad-based planning and architectural firm in 1988 and became a partner in 2002. During her tenure at Gruen Associates, Ms. Jarrod has focused on the collaborative delivery of projects primarily in the public sector. Her work includes large-scale, significant civic and cultural projects such as courthouses, embassies, performing arts centers, museums, libraries, and transportation projects. Among Ms. Jarrod's recent projects is the recently completed restoration of the iconic Brand Library, the renovation of the Glendale Central Library, and the leader of the team developing the master plan for Los Angeles Historic Union Station. Ms. Jarrod serves as a member of the Board of Directors for the American Institute of Architects Los Angeles chapter, as well as the California Council, and as a member of the California Council's Integrated Project Delivery Committee. A strong believer in mentoring, Ms. Jarrod is the architect liaison to the AIA's Academy of Emerging Professionals, a member of the board of the Los Angeles affiliate for the ACE Mentor Program, an after-school high school mentoring program, and serves on the National Affiliate Council for ACE. Ms. Jarrod was elevated to a Fellow of the American Institute of Architects in 2013. Welcome, Ms. Jarrod. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Chair Miller and Commissioners. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and share my experience with you and your constituents. When I'm asked to speak on the topic of non-traditional careers for women, I tend to get a little hung up on what to say because I don't consider my profession, architecture, to be non-traditional. Architects are one of the Renaissance professions where we need to know a little bit about a lot of different things and have just enough of a bunch of skills. Architects need to be creative, good verbal and written communicators, able to draw, but most importantly, be able to think critically. Math absolutely comes into play in figuring out how much space it takes to provide enough room for something, or how large a doorway needs to be in order to exit the right number of people. Science comes into play when we're researching new materials and trying to make sure that materials are compatible with each other. If you have two materials with different coefficients of expansion next to each other and they're both sitting in the sun, how will they react to each other? I happen to have really liked math and physics and have been pretty good at them, but really the characteristics that has gotten me the farthest in my career is a willingness to think my way through everything that I do. I know this must sound overly simplistic, but that's really the trait that we look for when we hire new employees. We can teach our staff about the thermal coefficient of thermal expansion of different materials, but what we can't really get them to do is even contemplate why such a thing is important, and that really comes from a very different place within them. But women have just as much claim on critical thinking as men do. So if architecture is rooted in creativity, communication, and a willingness to think critically, why is it still considered a non-traditional profession? I don't know why it is, but I have come to believe that apparently it is. I've been able to ignore that fact for my entire career. It has just never been an issue for me that I was aware of. But as I progress in my career and engage myself in the profession as a whole, I'm increasingly aware of the reality that architecture is not as integrated or diverse as it could or should be in 2014. My parents had pretty traditional jobs. My father was a salesman, my mother a school teacher. but they instilled in me this inherent belief that I could do or be anything that I wanted as long as I had a passion for what I was doing. I was a good student, but not outstanding. I enjoyed artistic things, and as I said, math and physics. And I became enamored with Frank Lloyd Wright, who is considered one of the greatest American architects and designed a lot of buildings in Chicago where I grew up. And that fueled my interest in becoming an architect. When I told my parents I wanted to become an architect, my mother had me call a woman architect who was featured in the Sunday paper and get her advice on joining the profession. Her advice, she told me not to become an architect, that it was really a horrible profession for women. I clearly did not take her advice. Knowing what I know now about how hard it is to get your work published, it's actually really strange that she was getting recognition for her work in the Sunday paper, which is a big deal, and still discouraging others from following in her footsteps. The first architect that I worked for after I graduated college was a woman in Colorado who happened to be Frank Lloyd Wright's granddaughter, which her name was Elizabeth Ingram. This was just an opportunity I wouldn't have missed for the world. And Liz gave me the following advice. She said that as a woman, I had to be better than the men around me in order to stand on even ground. I had to be smarter and work harder. And I did take this advice, but I didn't take it specifically in order to stand on level ground because I just didn't even recognize that as an issue. I took her advice in order to push myself to do the best that I could possibly do in any given circumstance. Now, I don't actually believe that I'm smarter than everyone else around me, but I probably won't believe that I work harder than most of my peers because I do work really hard. And it's important to me that I'm always pushing myself to accomplish more, that good enough isn't, and that I have the confidence that I can think my way through any situation as long as I'm willing to do it so. I'm now one of 4 partners in a 65-person architectural and planning firm in Los Angeles. My firm has always been considered progressive, diverse, and inclusive. When I started the firm 26 years ago, it didn't even cross my mind that there could be any impediment to my rising through the firm or having any role that I wanted. The firm was then and is now comprised of about 50% women. It was never a deliberate effort to be gender balanced. It was just something that happened fairly naturally. And I did rise through the ranks pretty quickly. I never considered whether there would be any perceived or real limits to what I could accomplish, and the good news is that there weren't. Yet, I am the first female in my firm's 68-year history to be made a partner. I don't believe I was the first deserving woman. There are certainly others who came before me. Elaine Carbray, who is an architect and planner, she became the head of the planning department at the age of 26, which was some more than 40 years ago that she's been with the firm. Norma Scalaric, the first African-American woman to be licensed in the state of California in 1962, as well as the first black woman to be elevated to the College of Fellows of the American Institute of Architects in 1980. Yet, I was the first. I consider it my responsibility to make sure that I am not the last or the only female partner. The team of people next in line to become partners are predominantly female. Of the 6 senior leaders in our firm, 2 associate partners are both female, and 3 of the 4 principal associates are also female. But each one got there on merit. There are no gifts to be able to be given when we're worried about protecting the future viability of our firm. The projects we do are generally large and complicated. During construction of these projects, it's quite common for our key office team members to be at least 50% female, whereas the contractors are almost exclusively male. That's not uncommon for there to be occasions of conflict between architects and contractors, and many times where the project executives are older men and our project staff are younger females. So the issue, again, comes in as to whether some of the conflicts are due to age or gender. And I don't really know the answer. To hold their own with the older male contractors, we guide our staff that they need to have confidence in what they know, stick to the facts, and know when to ask for support. Yet sadly, what we do is not the norm. When I'm interviewing new staff, I've been told by both genders that I'm the first woman they have interviewed with. Many large firms in Los Angeles have senior leadership that is completely male. And maybe that's just as coincidental as the makeup of our senior leadership, but maybe not. According to statistics prepared by the American Institute of Architects, the percentage of women principals in firms is only about 16%. And while there's no solid data on this, anecdotally, most of those women are thought to have opened up their own firms in order to ascend to the top. It still shocks me that out of the 83,000 members of the American Institute of Architects, only 17% are women, and that a decade ago, this figure was 9%. In a way, we've come far if we've doubled our ranks in a decade, yet at this pace, it'll take another generation before there's true gender equality. 50% of the students entering architecture school are female, so we're starting off okay. Now we need to convince women that architecture is a worthy and viable career, one where they can have a family and still have their career, where they will be treated as equals to men, both in opportunity and in pay. And we can help do this by getting more architects to be role models to younger women. One way we're doing this already is through a high school mentoring program I'm involved with as a mentor and a board member called the ACE Mentor Program, which stands for Architecture, Construction, and Engineering. In ACE, we have teams of professionals in those three disciplines volunteer their time after school to mentor young people in the design and construction profession. We actually started an ACE program at Glendale High School this year as well. We also need to support young women who attend college to make sure that they make it through the program, and then after they graduate, help them get jobs in the profession where the number of female interns is only 39%. And when you compare that to the 50% of school enrollment, the drop-off is starting immediately upon graduation. And it's a tough time for any recent graduate to get a job in the profession, but perhaps it makes it even more critical that we not lose the momentum we've started with these young women in school. What I really hope that I end up passing along, though, is a passion for whatever one does in life. Architecture is an incredibly rewarding profession, one that I'm very passionate about. Architects are responsible for designing the spaces that people use every day, whether it's houses, libraries, stores, governmental centers, schools, train stations. And the amount of pride that I feel when I see someone using a building that I had a hand in designing is just immeasurable. As architects, our work changes the faces of the communities that we work in forever, and that's the passion I hope to pass along. Thank you.
Do we have any questions?
Turn on your...
Do we have any questions? Comments?
I don't have a question, but I would like to say that I'm very impressed with your presentation. Do you believe now the words that the architect mentioned to you, that you have to be better than, smarter than?
I think it's always just a good idea to think of yourself as better than and smarter than, but everyone, not strictly one gender or another. But I do think that that's what I try and train my staff in, is always know more. Can never hurt.
Have you ever had any experience with harassment at all?
Interestingly, not very much. There was one construction job that I was on where one of the construction workers, who was not a very enlightened person, was trying to hand me pictures of lingerie. But, outside of that, that was, chalk that up to an ignorant person. And but no, generally in the profession, I have not experienced that.
What can we expect from the Brand Library?
Fantastic things.
Yeah.
It looks so amazing. I'm so happy with it. And the opening is in about 6 weeks.
Yes, Vice Chair Burns also has a comment, but just again, so our viewing audience is aware that you are speaking here tonight because you are the primary architect on the Brand Library, and you very much fit our theme, so we thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure.
Vice Chair Burns?
Welcome. Just a thought as you were speaking, almost, the many, many jobs that work harder, that scenario fits. It really does.
Absolutely.
And I'm not sure that it isn't a good idea, because women take on a responsibility inside the home. Then when you're looking at, for example, unusual or different careers, this is one. Real estate, property management, leasing, many different jobs require women to be, at least appear to be better than men. It's pretty easy sometimes to be better, but women do have to put in extra effort. I'm on the board of the Central Library, and we're waiting for you to move the door to the north side. When does that start?
Soon. We're looking to bid the project out in the next couple of months and get it started. So we're very eager to do that as well.
We're looking forward to that.
Oh, great. Thank you.
I have a question for you regarding when you're speaking with the young women that have gone into the field of architecture, do they relay to you specifically what drew them to that field?
It's often a lot of different things, and there's not one thread that I found that I can put through it. And some of them are more driven than others. Some of them have wanted to become architects for a long time, and others somewhat landed there.
I had a question, Chair Mills.
Student ex officio Mirza Haqqanian.
We are studying art history in my high school classes, and I have seen a prevalent amount of male architects, and it's kind of frustrating. I don't want to hear so much about the male architects. I want to hear a little bit more about the female architects. So is there a particular one that you found very inspiring to your work that you kind of use in your daily use of your work?
There's actually many wonderful women architects. The history books, not unlike the history books on art, have not really paid as much attention to women architects as they should have. In the state of California, Julia Morgan was a woman architect many, many years ago. Really phenomenal woman architect. And she hit about as much fame as most women architects do, and that's not very much, certainly not as much as she deserves. This year, I'm proud to say that she's being awarded posthumously an award from the American Institute of Architects, the highest award that can be honored to an individual, and it is going to a woman. But because there was a huge effort, a huge grassroots effort to get it awarded to a woman, which is really sad.
That's so cool. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your time and your very valuable information, and also the work for being the principal architect on the city's brand and Central Library project renovation.
Thank you for allowing me to be the architect on those projects. They're really incredibly rewarding, and I enjoy them a lot. Thanks.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, please.
Item 3, oral comment. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. The commission may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or discussion. Staff may refer the matter to the proper department for investigation and report.
Seeing that we have no speakers and that there are no cards before me, if we could go to the next item on the agenda, please.
Certainly. Item 4, consent items. At A, approval of the minutes of the special commission meeting held on January 13, 2014.
Are there any changes that the commission would like made to the minutes, or is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I'll move to approve them as presented.
Second?
And all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing that there are none, we'll go to the next item on the agenda.
Item 5, action items. At A, consideration and discussion of sponsorship requests for 2014 spring and fall seasons of Girls on the Run in South Glendale. At 1 is a motion providing direction regarding sponsorship requests.
Could we have a brief report on this, Ms. Alexanian, please?
Sure. Thanks, Chair Miller. Before you today is a report from Girls on the Run requesting sponsorship of their spring and fall seasons. Elizabeth was here last month and gave us some information about the Girls on the Run program and how the funds have been used previously. The Commission has sponsored Girls on the Run since 2010. The funds that Girls on the Run is requesting at this time is $2,500 for each season, so a total of $5,000 in sponsorship for both seasons. And the funds are basically going to be used to start a team at Edison Elementary School, where they've had a team in the previous seasons. The sponsorship benefits to the commission, or the recognition that commission will receive, is acknowledgement countywide for its support. And sponsors of over $2,500 receive logo placement on the back of 700 T-shirts that are printed, and they're worn by the runners, volunteers, coaches. Recognition in their newsletter that goes out to about 3,000 supporters, social medias, Facebook and Twitter. And the commission also would have an opportunity to coach, participate, or pass out medals at the actual 5Ks. The first 5K, or the spring 5K is scheduled to be on May 18th at Griffith Park. And the fall 5K will be sometime in December. They don't have a date yet. But at this time, staff is requesting direction from Commission on the sponsorship opportunity. We have Molly Snow, the Executive Director, and Stephanie, the Program Coordinator for Girls on the Run, here if Commission has any specific questions regarding the program.
Great. Molly, if you would join us at the podium, just so it's simple at the point that we do have questions. Is there any discussion amongst the commission on the request? Just to make sure that I understand what is happening, this is, the 5,000 sponsorship is for one team for both seasons.
Correct. That will take you through this year, this calendar year.
And then how will you fund the other teams that are in Glendale?
So the other teams will be funded the way they always are, and that's through quite a diverse mix of revenue. We do a lot of individual giving efforts, and we've had, tons and tons of generosity that's allowed us to support that. We have a program that is for adult athletes called Soulmates, where people fundraise to raise money for these other girls who require sponsorship or financial aid, however you want to look at that. And so far we've been able to sustain our policy, which is no girl is ever turned away for inability to pay. We've been really fortunate. This commission has been very helpful in that.
Mm-hmm. So this is the only request that you're coming before the commission this year?
This is it. This is it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But,
Sorry.
Vice Chair Burns?
I'm thinking back. Have you not come for one session before this, just
That is
one
correct.
at a time?
We have done one at a time. I think that may have been per the request of the commission. So certainly I think that is one of the alternatives offered here in our report. And that is certainly an option. We have done spring and fall separately. But I think, at this point, because the support has been fairly consistent, we just have decided to expedite and do it all at once. We know without fail that the Edison team will exist, and that team, as Stephanie can attest, is continually growing. So, we know that team will be back.
And if I may also add on behalf of the commission, just historically speaking back, we've also asked the Girls on the Run to come before us many times. When we asked them to put a team in South Glendale, they put a team in South Glendale. When we asked them to come back one time instead of two times, they did that. When we asked them after every single time that there was a race to come before us, and they've really gone the distance in these 2 years that we've been together and building a relationship. And I think to echo what's being presented here, we know that there will be the team, we know that we have the money, and we know that the relationship is there. So I would at least be supportive of going forward. If anybody wants to make a motion, we can certainly do that, or we can have further discussion.
I appreciate your comments.
Commissioner Devine?
I would just like to submit that the commission should be cautious in funding for the total $5,000. I think I would advise that we take it one one season at a time. We don't know where we're going to be the next season. We don't know what's going to happen with Camp Rosie. We don't know what's going to happen at our fundraisers. So I just, that's my thought. I've always been supportive of Girls on the Run, and I always will be. But this is a pretty large sum, and as I say, we just don't know where we're going to be. That's my only comment.
And my comments go so far as to not, I mean not to sound as if I'm debating you, Commissioner Devine, because I'm not. I tend to be on that particular side of the fence, but this time going forward, I guess a couple of things that I would ask us again to consider is that we know that Camp Rosie is paid for in 2014. We know that because we received a Dignity Health grant that's going to pay that entire amount. We also know that this is one of our signature programs, and we know that really when a commission partners with a group and a group comes forth and does everything that's asked, it seems that, certainly we can have them come back, but we know we're going to go that direction. I don't think it's a matter of money, at least this year. Any further discussion? Anybody want to make a motion for the 5,000 or an alternative motion? We do want to do something, and of course I can't do it, because if I could, this decision...
I make a motion that we offer $2,500 for Girls on the Run and have you revisit us for the next season.
I will second that.
And if we could take a roll call?
Vice Chair Burns?
Yes.
Commissioners Devine?
Yes.
Hojayan?
Yes.
Wiseman?
Yes.
Chair Miller?
No. Okay, so we know that we're at 2,500, and we know that we will be seeing you again, and we look forward. I think all of us up here, regardless of what was approved, all of us up here continue to see you as one of our signature programs. We're all very supportive, and we will continue to be, at least in action, if not finances at this point.
So appreciative. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, next item on the agenda.
Item 5B, consideration and discussion of proposed Sexual Assault Awareness Month activities. At one motion, providing direction regarding proposed activities.
Actually, if we could back away from that. We have one other speaker here. I'd like to take an item out of order. If we could go to item 6A, and if we could bring up for information only, item 6A, update regarding Glendale Unified School District's 2014 Yellow Ribbon. Hands and words are not for hurting project.
Chair Miller, just to provide a brief report before I call up Scott Anderley. In December, the Commission approved a $3,500 sponsorship to purchase materials to distribute to GUSD for the Hands and Words Are Not for Hurting project as part of Yellow Ribbon Week. We have Scott Anderley, Assistant Director of Student Support Services, here with us to provide an update to the Commission on how the funds were used and the success of the project. Thank you for being there with us today. Yes.
Good evening, Commission members and Commission Chair Miller. My name is Scott Anderley. I represent the Glendale Unified School District, and I am here to thank you for your support of the Glendale Unified School District Yellow Ribbon Week, and I've put together just a brief presentation. It's celebrated this year, January 21st through the 24th. And Yellow Ribbon Week, the Glendale Unified School District has been celebrating Yellow Ribbon Week in the month of January following the Martin Luther King holiday for over the last 10 years now. The purpose is to support the Safe and Drug-Free Schools message, which is schools should be a safe haven for students to excel and develop skills for a successful future. Our goal is to raise awareness about keeping schools safe and violence-free, to honor the victims of school violence, and to remind us to ensure that these senseless tragedies never happen again. A little background information. The City of Glendale Commission on the Status of Women has always supported Yellow Ribbon Week activities by donating the Hands and Words Are Not for Hurting materials as far back as 2006. Each year, the Commission purchases the materials and donates it to the district to be distributed to all the schools. For 2013-14, the Commission approved the sponsorship and donation of materials in the amount of $3,500. The Hands and Words Are Not for Hurting materials. This year we received stickers, wristbands, and brochures for all of our schools from the Hands and Words Are Not for Hurting project. Hands and Words Are Not for Hurting donated materials. These are some materials that were purchased in previous years. From 2006 through 2012, the Commission donated buttons, which were distributed to all high schools. And this year we did not order buttons because we had some left over, so we didn't feel that was necessary. And in 2008-9 school year, the Commission donated banners for all the schools and buttons to the high school. And those banners, we reuse them every year. We roll them up, and the school saves them, and we bring them out the following year. And real quickly, the banner does have the pledge, which is also one of the focus, which is I pledge that I will not use my hands or my words for hurting myself or others. This year, as far as the material distribution is concerned, the elementary school received the stickers and the brochures. Middle schools, the stickers, wristbands, and brochures, and high schools received the brochures. And I got a chance this year to go to Toll Middle School during Yellow Ribbon Week, and in the classroom that I walked into, the teacher had a sticker, a wristband, and a brochure on each desk, and then went into a lesson plan that included not only the Hands and Words project, but also a little presentation on Martin Luther King, and they did a tolerance piece along with the stickers and the wristbands. Many schools have some unique traditions. They have the anti-violence pledges. There's a decorating of the handprints, which is also the purple hand. You'll see them in some future slides here as part of the pledge. When you take the pledge, you cut out your hand, and different schools have different ways of representing those purple hands. We have the Hands Are Not for Hurting posters, and we have the chalk-ins, which is where schools do large chalk drawings that celebrate tolerance. Many schools tie yellow ribbons around the school fence while making the anti-violence pledges, and you can see there's Balboa Elementary School and Marshall Elementary School with the ribbons tied around the school. Students, as I mentioned, do the Hands or Words Are Not for Hurting the purple hands. There's an example of all of the students who took the pledge at Jefferson and posting their hands, and a sample presentation done by one of the classrooms at Jefferson Elementary School. Muir Elementary School, there's a picture there of the flag kindergarten classes with Dr. Sheehan and the poster that they had made that hung in the school during Yellow Ribbon Week. And Clark Magnet High School also had a number of excellent presentations that involved the Hands Project. I talked a little bit about the chalk-ins. Many schools do the chalk drawings around the school, celebrating anti-bullying concepts and tolerance. Yellow Ribbon Week is a key feature to all of our schools' comprehensive school safety plan, which is required by Ed Code for all schools. And the focus of this plan is to prevent and prepare students and staff members to handle conflict, anger, and other threats to safety with effective best practices, including training via programs to prevent drug, alcohol abuse, and other negative behaviors. And I'd also like to add that we also use the Break the Cycle, ending dating violence curriculum in our high schools as part of the health classes. And that's also a very important project that we focus on during Yellow Ribbon. In addition, we have our standard violence prevention programs, which are the second step violence prevention program, Too Good for Drugs and Violence in the 9th grade classes. And I was talking about the Break the Cycle. That's just a perfect example of the supplemental activities that we use in grades 10 through 12. Yellow Ribbon Week offers the opportunity to apply acquired violence prevention and safety information in promoting and sustaining a safe and violence-free school environment. Students are able to use the resources provided by the Commission in their various activities dedicated to Yellow Ribbon Week, and our students give a positive message about tolerance and bullying incidents with many of our anti-bullying programs, including our very comprehensive OVEUS anti-bullying program that we are doing in the schools, has resulted in a decrease in incidents in bullying over the past 2 years. And again, I am here to thank the Commission, the City of Glendale, and the Commission, the Status on Women, for their generous donation throughout the years. And we really hope that you will continue to think of us during Yellow Ribbon Week, because we try to do our best to use the money that's donated to the best of our abilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the Commission? Commissioner Devine?
You know, I've been here since about 2006, and I know when we started this Hands and Words, and it was just a little program. We had it in a few, you know, I think maybe we started with a few schools, and the teachers took hold of that program and made it really something special, and I think that's very evident in these slides. They built curriculums around it and just made it into a wonderful program, and I'm just thrilled. I just think it's wonderful, and I'm so glad about the curriculum. You know, we break the cycle, the safe dating. I worked with the Safe Family Task Force on behalf of the Commission with Sally Miles to bring that into the schools, and we got it through the curriculum committee, and I'm just really so proud of all of those programs. You're just doing a great job. Thank you on that subject.
Thank you.
Mr. Onder, just a couple of comments. Thank you so much for coming before us today. We've been wanting to have this sort of dialogue with you to let you know that we appreciate you being thankful, and it's also very equally rewarding for us as a commission to work on these efforts with you. I do see from the report that we have before us that the Glendale Unified School District paid the difference to $485.94, meaning that you came to us for $35. You actually came to us for $4,000. You were given $35, and you came in right at $39.85. Do you? How was the money raised to pay for that?
Well, that was part of a safety grant that we have.
Okay.
We did a small grant to help with purchasing curriculum, and this was paid for out of that.
That's great. Okay, so there's no, and then you are aware that as a commission we also have our dating palm cards that are part of Break the Cycle that were created with the input from our 2 student ex officios a couple years back with that actual curriculum. So just making sure that you are familiar with those as well.
Not only am I familiar with those, I believe those are distributed.
Part of your distribution?
Yeah,
Great.
by the high school counselors. They've been made available to them.
That's fantastic. And so we, as a commission and going forward, as you get ready for 2015, which will be here before we know it, if there's anything we can do in terms of partnering or coming on the campus as part of your yellow ribbon, any of those that you might designate, whether it's tying ribbons or just partnering up with the students or the different schools, we'd like to let you know that there's interest for that as well.
Oh, no problem at all. We can always use the help. We really appreciate that, very much so.
And I have a comment.
Commissioner Weiss.
Actually, a question. I believe one of the supplemental efforts, you're going to be hosting, along with the Crescenta Valley Alliance, a meeting this week on bullying for parents.
We're doing an anti-bullying presentation just to talk a little bit more about our Obeus program, which is a real deep kind of curricular, systemic school-wide anti-bullying program, and that'll be taking place at CV High School on Thursday night.
Commissioner Devine.
Can you tell us a little bit about that briefly, the anti-bullying?
The Obeus program? The Obeus program uses not only materials and curriculum, but it also uses all of the school staff with a real message that the school personnel really cares about what's happening in the school and what's happening to the students. And the staff itself will come up with a series of, for example, rules of behavior to make sure bullying doesn't happen. And if it does happen, they've set up a way that the students can go to any adult on the campus and get the support that they need. And all of those adults will respond in the same manner to what's being brought for them. And it does take training. The program, the Obeus program, because it is intensive, we only do 4 schools a year. We train 4 schools a year. So we started last year with 4 schools. We have 4 this year, actually 5 this year. Toll has added on because Ann Amrine, who was the assistant principal at Rosemont, who is one of the schools that started the program, and she was very important in starting that program. She's moved to Toll, so she felt that she would really be able to infuse that program quickly there. So we're going to be training 9 schools this year.
I would like to comment, if that's all right.
Yes, student ex officio Mirza Haqqanian.
I would like to thank you for coming, as we said before, and I would like to thank the Glendale Unified School District not only, but my high school also, Crescenta Valley, because it has taken a major step in anti-bullying awareness with a play that they wrote, 22%. And they have distributed that, and they've even gone to as far as contacting Pasadena Playhouse in order to make that aware to the students. And it's just a major step that they've done, and it's very innovative, and it's very forward-thinking, and I would like to thank you for being a partner in that. Thank you.
You guys did an excellent job with that production.
Thank you again for joining us today. We look forward to our continued sponsorship and collaboration with you.
It was my pleasure. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Okay, now if we could go back to the regular agenda.
Sure.
Back to item 5B.
5B, and that's consideration and discussion of proposed Sexual Assault Awareness Month activities. 1, motion providing direction regarding proposed activities.
If we could have a brief report on this, Ms. Alexanian.
Sure, Chair Miller. April, as we're aware, is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and the Commission has been very active in planning activities in April to raise awareness of sexual assault in our community. And staff has started working on some activities for April and has brought to you for your consideration and direction. One of the things that we have done in the past and staff has looked into again this year is a proclamation from the mayor declaring April Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Denim Day. This year, Denim Day falls on April 23rd, and staff has tentatively scheduled a proclamation presentation on Tuesday, March 25th at 6 p.m. in the council chambers, and the mayor will present a proclamation. Chair Miller will accept the resolution or the proclamation on behalf of the commission, and the commissioners are invited to attend. Furthermore, just like previous years, self-defense classes. This commission has put together or promoted and sponsored self-defense classes for our community. And staff has been working to secure the classes to provide women and girls in the community at no cost. The classes are provided by Shield Self-Defense Training, a martial arts-based women's self-defense program founded by Nelson Neo. Mr. Neo is a former board member of the Glendale YWCA and the State Certified Sexual Assault Victim Counselor and a member of the California Coalition Against Sexual Assault. He's an advocate for women's safety and has been specializing in teaching self-defense and personal safety exclusively for women for the past several years. The classes that tentatively have been scheduled, or the dates and locations that staff has identified, are a Wednesday, April 2nd at the Adult Recreation Center, Wednesday, April 9th at the Glendale Community College or the Adult Recreation Center. Both locations are available. Wednesday, April 16th at the Police Community Room, Wednesday, April 30th, again at the Police Community Room. Staff is looking to secure 2 dates and 2 locations. It could be 2 different locations or the same location. The cost per class is $400 per class. So if the commission would like to offer 2 classes, that would be $800. Last year, the commission wanted to provide 3 classes. So we had 3 classes, and they were at the Adult Recreation Center, at the Glendale Community College, and at the Glendale Police Department, the community room at the Glendale Police Department. And the classes were scheduled from 6 to 8:30 p.m. This year, staff is recommending, and I know it's not part of the report, but staff would recommend April 9th and April 16th if those dates are okay with commission. And we could look into either the Glendale Community College or the Adult Recreation Center. Last year, there were a total of 125 duplicated women and girls who participated, and we say duplicated because the class is open. All the classes are open to all the women and girls, and they can attend multiple classes or they can just attend one. So we don't keep track of individuals, but there were a total of 125 people, and the majority of the turnout was at the Glendale Police Department, the community room at Glendale Police Department, and there were a total of 71 participants at that specific location. My understanding from previous years is Glendale Police Department has the best turnout, so we tried to secure that location. Glendale Community College has been provided as an alternate in previous years, but staff does not see a lot of turnout from the college itself, the students from the college. So if commission is okay, we could look into the Adult Recreation Center as an alternate versus the Glendale Community College. And it is, parking would be available in the Maryland garage, so parking would not be an issue. And in past years, we do have to coordinate with Glendale Community College and make sure that the individuals attending the class have a parking pass for the college. So that has been difficult, or not difficult, but there have been some problems with parking at the college. So if commission is okay, we'd like to do it at the Adult Recreation Center, or we can look at the 30th at the Police Community Room. These are tentative dates, so hopefully the rooms are still available by the time we go to finalize the location. So those are the dates that I'm not sure, Chair Miller, if you'd like to take that one at this time, or if you'd like me to continue with the report before we come back to the self-defense classes.
If I may, Ms. Alexanian, the rest of your report includes, do you want to at least take Denim Day? That takes us through our set events, and then we can make a motion and perhaps go on and then have a discussion about what else we might do.
Of course. The third activity that the Commission has sponsored and staff has planned is Denim Day. And this year, Denim Day falls on April 23rd. And the Commission has supported the Peace Over Violence Denim Day in LA Awareness and Fundraising Drive. And the Commission has donated over $8,000 to Peace Over Violence. And this is basically a day where staff is given the opportunity to wear denim to work, and in exchange for purchasing a pin that they get to wear, the funds that are raised from this is turned around and given to Peace Over Violence as a fundraiser to continue to support their activities in raising awareness for sexual assault and domestic violence, and child abuse and youth violence, which are all things that Peace Over Violence works towards. So that's the third activity that Commission has supported in previous years. So that would fall on April 23rd this year.
So, thank you, Ms. Alexanian. So, in terms of the actions that we need on this, it's fairly straightforward that March 25th is going to be the day of the proclamation. There's no action needed on that. We will simply go before City Council. I do want to just advise, as it comes up for an item in the future, the next item on the agenda, it looks like March 25th will be the event that we're having for misrepresentation. Neither here nor there. We have a number of commissioners we can split up, but I just wanted to advise us of that. And I think the timing will work out. It's just that we'll be going from one thing to the next that evening. The next item is to look at the self-defense. Now, I do have a couple of questions about this. Do we remember last year how many people showed up at the Adult Rec Center?
The exact number I don't have off the top of my head, so I would have to look into that and get back to you specifically for that location.
You may or may not, based on where the rest of the commission wants to go. The reason I ask that question is it has been my experience that the police community room is always well attended, but it was also equally my impression last year, having attended the college, I did think that it was well attended. I thought that was last year that I attended there.
It was.
The years do fly, but I thought it was last year, and there was about 45 young women. I thought their mothers were there, and I thought they were college students. So my impression of last year is different in terms of that college location. Did we ever hear feedback to say that parking was a significant issue or something that we should consider in terms of... I know why we looked at 3 locations last year, so I guess the commission could decide on doing 3 classes, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's certainly one. Or we have to have some input here on which locations.
Just from prior staff experience in dealing with the parking, I do know that it has been an issue in some instances, but again, it's also more time consuming than some of the other locations. But again, if Commission wishes to continue to do it at the college, that should be fine as well.
Commissioner Devine?
A couple comments. First of all, 71 in the police conference room. Now, I've been down there for a lot of these self-defense classes through the years. That's a whole lot of people in that room. I think that maybe if this is the case, that we should ask Nelson what he thinks about a cap on that number, that maybe instead of doing 71 people, we should put a cap at 50 or 45 at the police conference room. First of all, that's my first comment. Second of all, I agree with Chair Miller. When I've gone to Glendale Community College for those self-defense classes, there's been a very good crowd and young women that really need this sort of training. So I would really like to see one at Glendale Community College and not so much at the Adult Center, and then one at the Police Community Room, and maybe cap that. And if you find that, I don't know, I guess we couldn't do that, but I was going to suggest we do a third one if we find out we have too many, but maybe if we just do 2, but 71, I think half of the people women don't get much instruction when the crowd is that big. Just speaking from being a physical education teacher and having 85 girls in front of me, I know how much attention each one of them gets. So, and I know this is a interactive class. I mean, they actually do really get into, the movements and stuff, and I just don't see there being space in that conference room for 71 people, women, girls, young girls. That's 2 of my suggestions.
Any other comments?
I have a question. Do we get any feedback from the participants? Do we have the ability to look and see what they said? Perhaps there were too many people. I didn't get a chance to practice anything, or any kind of statistics that would tell us what what effectiveness these classes are having, so we would know how to focus them in future years.
Commissioner Wiseman, in the past, I don't think we have done a survey type of feedback. I mean, we haven't requested feedback through a survey, but we have heard back, just as staff being at the classes or emails that have come into the commission, that it's greatly appreciated and it's a great experience. But I personally have not heard feedback from participating last year or being present. I have not heard feedback about specific locations or, if the number of people in the class was an issue. Nelson is really good about giving everybody an opportunity at least once. And just from being present at the classes last year, I do notice that some people are hesitant and don't want to participate, so it balances out. And just to speak to Commissioner Devine's concern about the police community room, the room does open up, so location, size-wise, the room is okay, but I do hear your concern about the number of people and the opportunity to participate. I would probably agree with you that 71 is a lot for Nelson. But some people, like I said, do not wish to participate, so it almost balances out, or they don't get an opportunity to participate more than once.
Well, I'm simply suggesting a conversation would maybe help if you talk to Nelson and get his feedback
Of course.
on this, and not just us, because we go down there and we see it, but we're not in the middle of it, so.
But I also think, just to add on to that, I think it's fair that this commission all is in agreement that if Nelson comes back to you in that conversation and caps it at 60, that's the action on it. I don't think you come back before the commission.
Of course, understand.
We're good, right? Yeah, we're good with whatever he instructs us on. So that puts that piece aside. Do we know when the spring break is?
That was the week of the 16th, or
Okay.
for Glendale Community College.
Yes.
Yeah. So if we were to look at Glendale Community College, the 9th would be the best option. So it would be the week after that would be spring break.
Did you have a comment, Vice Chair Burns?
I recall last year we had 3 classes because one of the commissioners thought it would be a good idea to add a 3rd class.
There were a few other reasons, but that was one of them. There were a few other reasons. We didn't have another event happening with the YWCA that we normally do, but yeah.
Okay. Are you suggesting 1? Are you suggesting 2 or 3? Are you still thinking about the 3?
Well, I was actually just thinking of 2, but I would vote for 3 as well. I just
But
think
we're
as
looking
many-
at about $1,200 if we're looking at 3.
Now,
And I'm going to disagree with both of you. I think it's tough to get to Glendale Community College. I think the parking is tough. You're walking up God only knows how many flights of stairs. It is, in my opinion, a tough place to go for a class. This police community room, to me, is much more preferable. Even if you're going to Glendale Community College, it's not a big deal to come down to the police community room. It certainly would be my choice to have 2 at least at the police community room, or even the 3. I really think that the 3 would be fine there, and I think it's a great idea for him to cap it at whatever number. I agree with you. It's really stuffy in there after you get 100 people breathing the oxygen. So I'd go 2 or 3 at the police community room. And at this point, I think the Glendale Community College people could come down to us. I don't think it would be a big deal.
Commissioner Devine?
I think we see a difference in the age group that we get at the police conference room and at the community college. And I think at the community college we get the co-eds, we get the young girls, and who are used to parking there, and with sexual assault happening on college campuses and being a huge issue these days, I think it behooves us to have at least one there, at least one.
Could I ask?
And for most, I will say my memory of the people who were in the room were the the Glendale Community College students, and they invited their mothers. So it was a real event for a lot of mothers and daughters at that, and so I also feel strongly about staying on the college campus.
Chair Miller, may I ask a question?
Yes.
What time are we going to have these classes held at the community college?
They're at 6 p.m., right,
6:30.
Ms. Alexandrian? 6 or 6:30 p.m. What's the start time?
6 to 8:30.
6 to 8:30.
And
That's what's been done last year, but we could always,
what my concern is that the people who might want to attend these classes might shy away or might be afraid to attend these classes because college campuses can get a little bit scary at night. Yeah.
You know, that is definitely something to consider. Again, keep in mind that we've been doing this for years.
Oh, right.
And so there's a history here and a trending, and the trending on the college is that it's students who are there. So while that is a valid point that you raise, it really, the audience that we attract there are those young women and their mothers. At least historically, that's what it seems.
Thank you.
I would like to recommend that we do use all 3 locations and have 3 different classes because of the fact that more people would be able to attend, let's say if they live in northern Glendale or southern Glendale or not even in Glendale and one location is closer than the other. So I would recommend that commission considers having 3 classes instead of 2.
Now, that is an interesting consideration, what you just brought up there, because I did ask the numbers last year after we went to 3, because there is a cost associated with that. And remember, there was duplicated numbers. Not that it's that awful for the community to keep coming and getting self-defense. That's the good thing. So 3 it could be, but I would say that third one, from my memory, was not well attended. And so I might suggest we maybe look, if we were to do a third one, I know everyone's gung-ho, but remember, we have staff that would have to assist us with that. So we have to be mindful of our staff time and really getting the biggest bang for our buck, because there's a cost associated with it. So I might suggest, following your idea, that if we were to look at a third class, we consider a North Glendale area, like Spar Heights. So that's just something to consider.
It's easier to park there.
Chair Miller, we have not looked at Spar Heights as a location for availability, but we'd be more than happy to do so. If Commission can provide direction on how many classes you'd like to see, we could verify if Spar Heights is available for the third class. So if you are comfortable with staff verifying First Nelson's availability and the location availability, but just providing direction on you'd like to see 2 classes or 3 classes offered, then staff can look into.
So before we go to a motion, do we have some idea of a consensus here on 2 or 3, if people want to comment to that? And we will move this action item along before we go to motion. Commissioner Devine?
Okay, well, I did a little math here, and we had 125 in attendance. We had 71 at the one location, which leaves 54.
They're duplicated numbers, Commissioner Devine.
Exactly.
So
But my point is that would be 25 in the 2 classes. So is it worth it to do 1 class for 25 women? Let's just say, or it could have been like 50 at one and 4 at the other. But
That was my point.
Is it feasible and cost efficient to do 3 when you just have that many going? And plus, the other thing is, if we do something else for Sexual Assault Awareness Month, we might want to just do it at another week that we're not doing these classes. Although I know that women love these classes. I mean, they ask me, when are you doing those again? Yeah. So.
we will.
Well, we're also, another thing for this group, we could certainly, did you have a comment, Commissioner Weissman, before I sum up?
Well, I was just going to concur that I think attracting younger women is a good goal for these self-defense, and so I think the community college is a good venue. And I think particularly the week before spring break is extremely timely
I agree.
for that particular kind of training. So I would push for that. And as long as we expect to have participation, I think 3 classes at 3 different locations offer more chance of someone who wants this kind of self-defense training to be able to find something convenient for her.
And one more thought, if we do 2 classes this month, maybe we can do another one during Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Or even the summer.
2 now.
2 now, and then 1 for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So we have, I think that would be a good component for DV Month.
Okay, so just in terms of stating back to everyone or summarizing this discussion, it looks like we have the option of providing two or 3 classes. No one said much about the dates, so it looks like the recommendation that staff made in terms of Wednesday, April 9th and the 16th, those 2 we could definitely go with. We could look at, and again, these are all things based on what I'm reading out in the report. Someone can make a motion if they want, or we're still available for discussion. But Wednesday, April 9th could be at the Glendale Community College. Wednesday, April 16th could be at the Police Community Room. If we were to look at a 3rd location, such as Aspire Heights, we do have Wednesday, April 30th, or the motion can be for 2 classes in and of itself, keeping in mind that the 23rd of April, we do have Denim Day. So from March 25th until April 30th, we are out there raising awareness. I'm more inclined to want to do something more than just sexual assault awareness self-defense classes for that month. So I'd be more likely to look at 2.
Ready for a motion?
Are we ready?
I don't know what.
Make a motion.
I'd like to move that for Sexual Assault Awareness Month, we offer 2 classes, one at Glendale Community College on the 9th and one at the Police Community Room on the 16th.
Do we have a second?
Yes, I said.
And if we could have a roll call, please.
Vice Chair Burns,
Yes.
Commissioners Devine,
Yes?
Rajayan,
Yes.
Wiseman,
Yes.
Chair Miller.
Yes. So again, we're having 2 classes and not 3. And now if you could go on to the remainder of the events for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. The remainder of your report.
Sure. Chair Miller, in previous years, the Commission has also worked with YWCA to host Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, an event which attempts to create a united gender movement in which men are part of the solution to ending sexual violence and provides a playful opportunity for men to join women in raising awareness in their community about this serious cause. Last year, the YWCA was not interested in organizing this event, and therefore we did not have this event. This year, staff has not heard from the YWCA, but staff is looking for direction on whether this is something that the Commission would like to consider for staff to follow up on, whether we'd like to host the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes and follow up with YWCA to see if they are interested. Furthermore, the Man's Inhumanity to Man Committee, the City of Glendale annually brings to light the inhumanities throughout the world during the annual Week of Remembrance. And this year, the Week of Remembrance is April 21st through the 25th. And there are a variety of events that take place with panel discussions, film screenings, and usually there's the event, the genocide event that takes place at the Alex Theater. This year, the Man's Inhumanity to Man Committee has asked the staff if the Commission would like to host some kind of an event during the Week of Remembrance related to man's inhumanity to man, and it could vary in topic from human trafficking to sexual assault awareness. Staff is looking for direction from the commission on whether this is something the commission would like to do and recommendations for an actual event if the commission would like to partner with the Men's and Humanity to Man Committee to host something in April. The events are still tentative. We did ask one of the committee members to be here tonight, but unfortunately they were not able to make it. But staff will take back feedback from the commission and work with the committee in coming up with the event if the commission would wish to do so, and bring back a full report in March. So staff is looking for direction from the commission on recommendations or direction on both the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes and the potential participation in the Week of Remembrance, and any other direction you may wish to give for Sexual Assault Awareness Month in April.
Yes, Commissioner Kajoyan.
No, I understood that the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, that last year they didn't do it. I think I suggest if we can do it this year. And from where they walk, I mean, is they have a certain place to walk, or?
Commissioner DeVite, I know you're...
Yes, yeah. Well, every year we would do the Take Back the Night, and we would walk maybe over to Broadway and around the block and over to Lexington and down, Glendale Avenue. And for this particular walk, many of the men came and wore high heel shoes and walked part of the way in those, and then, of course, discarded them after a while. But it never really, I guess, took off. But my question is, we haven't contacted the Y, or the Y hasn't contacted. I mean, this is the first year that we haven't really collaborated with them for this program.
Not yet. The Y I believe the Y always took lead in this program, my understanding, and this year they had not contacted us. So
The second year. It's our second year.
We did take
last year we did not.
No, we did not. That's why we did 3
Didn't do it
self-defense
last year, no.
classes. I know time is flying by, Commissioner Devine. I had
Well, okay, then my thought is that for Man's Inhumanity to Man, I think that we definitely should do something about violence against women, and with them. I don't know what committees or what groups are involved in that. The Walk a Mile in Her Shoes is a pretty big undertaking, I have to say, and the Y did take the lead on that, and they did most of the work. So that's my thought on that one. But I definitely think we need to do something else during this month. I Googled Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and one of the activities that they suggest, which I thought was really great, was to have your police department tie teal bows on their antenna and have them on, like we could do it for the week. We could ask them to do it for us from the 21st to the 25th for 4 days or 5 days. But they all have teal ribbons on their cars, and that's and do a program like that. And I know the police department is usually pretty good at collaborating with us.
Ms. Alexanian, this Man's Inhumanity to Man, in terms of what you do know so far, could you give it, there are different community groups who are going to each be doing something different?
Yes, usually the Men's and Humanity to Man Committee, which is made up of city staff and community members, will work with various organizations. So, for example, if this commission would wish to do a film screening related to sexual awareness or sexual abuse or human trafficking, the commission would organize it and work with Men's and Humanity to Man Committee to promote it, and of course have it, or it would take place at, let's say, the library or any of our community centers, or a panel discussion or anything of that sort. The commission would work out the details. The commission would be the one hosting it. It's just we would work with the Man's Inhumanity to Man Committee and working it into to that week, the week of remembrance.
So, did you make a statement when you opened this about, it doesn't have to be at the Alex. How was the Alex brought into this? Was I hearing things?
No, I was just saying that usually on April 24th, there is an event that takes place at the Alex Theater.
So we're not limited to the Alex?
No, we're not limited to the Alex. This is actually separate from the Alex. That's just one of the events that takes place during the week of remembrance.
So April 23rd for us is Denim Day. And there is something that we could do. Perhaps there's a way for us to do something on that day that also speaks to this week of remembrance, or are the messages too confusing?
No, I don't think they are. It depends on the topic that commission wants to highlight during the week. It does not have to relate to the genocide. It would be something that this commission wants to raise awareness for, like violence against women. Or human trafficking, I know has been a hot topic lately, and so it's something that the commission would do, and it's any inhumanity to man. So it's sort of that week highlights any injustice that happens or takes place, and this commission could choose to do something specifically related to women during that week.
Got it. Thank you. Commissioner Devine?
Another suggestion, in the past, we've done the Clothesline Project, which is oftentimes used in Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And if we could collaborate with one of the other committees that are having an event, and at their event, we could have the Clothesline Project. And what that is, because I'm sure that not everybody knows what that is, victims of sexual assault actually paint clothing, like jeans, T-shirts. It's interactive, and we'd have kids come, teenagers, and they would paint. Hurting me is not right. Hitting mom is not good. Why are you things, messages of anti-abuse. It's very, very powerful. Thank you. Yeah. So that's something that we could also do in collaboration with another event.
If we were, those are good ideas. Commissioner Kajoyan, did you want to add something?
No, I was thinking if we can do a panel to discuss women trafficking. That was my suggestion.
And when I think of, at least from my perspective, a couple of the things I might put out there for the commission to consider is this is a very full month. And so when we look at our resources and what we're trying to achieve, as well as staff's time, is there a way to achieve this in a very focused and unilateral way? For example, we already have gone to the Galleria, which we did during Sexual Assault Awareness Month. We know that we were very successful there with our purple ribbon. If we were to ask the police officers to do something, as you suggest, I'm more inclined to go that direction if the public understands what the teal ribbon stands for. So to me, there would have to be some activity or event that took place where we're handing out that information so people understand it, and that really could send the message of our collaboration and our partnership against sexual assault. We also have to keep in mind that we would have to leave it up to staff to even discuss with the police department if that's an option. But again, when we look at the things that we might put together, we might want to look at collaborating with someone or doing something that gets across our message. We haven't handed out our resource guides. I mean, just because we did in October doesn't mean that everybody knows what they're about. And I'm not speaking about a number of different locations. I'm saying we can go back to the Galleria in a very focused and specific amount of time and hand out those resource guides or something along that line that really continues with the process that we're trying to achieve, as well as keeping it streamlined. And my last question is, do we have to decide on this tonight?
Staff would like direction on whether the commission would like to do some kind of an event, and if it would be easier to form a subcommittee, if you want to look into an actual event outside of this commission meeting, to form a subcommittee where they would work with staff and the Man's Inhumanity to Man Committee to make sure that it fits in with what they are trying to do during that week of remembrance. So if commission would provide direction specifically to, yes, this is something the commission would like to do, and identify 2 commission members, commissioners who would form a subcommittee and work with staff in identifying an event if one can be identified, and working with the committee. And then we can work with the Man's Inhumanity to Man Committee to make sure that it fits in with what they are trying to do for the Week of Remembrance. Unfortunately, they were not available to be here tonight to provide a little bit more background on the type of event that they would be looking for, but my understanding is it's still undecided at this point. They don't have specific events identified for me to be able to tell you this is what they have on specific dates so far, and they're looking for partnership from the commission. So they just wanted to see if the commission would be interested in working with them.
Great. So does it look like from the commission, do we want to have further discussion, or do we want to go in the direction of the subcommittee? Do I have any volunteers to participate?
I just want to suggest that I think this is a great opportunity for the commission to do something new and kind of exciting and different. And I think we've had some suggestions here tonight and maybe there are others, and I think that it should be, go to this, our Man's Inhumanity to Man Committee, and see how the commission can work with them and what they think is appropriate and how we can fit in. So that's my suggestion.
So do we have any volunteers to be on a subcommittee?
Yes, I'd work with the committee.
So we would need, okay, now that we know we have that, we would need a motion. We would need a motion to put together a subcommittee and to appoint 2 people, which we've seen 2 volunteers, to work with staff to come up with the event for the commission during Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
It should be 2 or 3?
2.
Just
2.
2?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Wiseman, and who was the second one?
Commissioner Kajoyan.
Chair Miller, may I also be in the committee?
And student ex officio, Rima Sahakian, by all means. We would welcome that. We also, although we didn't go into it in detail, we would also look to both of our students to really help us get the word out about Denim Day at your school.
I was going to mention if there could be anything that we could do, maybe not this year, but in the future, like something like Yellow Ribbon Week, but incorporating Denim Day into that so that the schools would be aware.
Okay, so the other thing I saw on Google was white ribbons, and you hand out white ribbons, and you might do that on your high school campuses.
Another suggestion might be for all the high school students to wear denim on April 23rd.
Which they did last year. So
We even got the Catholic school to do that. They came in and we went talked to them, and
So we will put you, can we maybe get a hold of one of our former student ex officios, or I have one of their emails, and maybe connect our former with our current, because they had some really great ideas of things they did in the school last year. Okay.
I have a question. What did we decide for the walk? Are we going to continue or no?
Unless we hear a motion or further discussion on the walk, we're not doing a walk.
I see.
Well, can we contact the YWCA to see if they're doing anything? I mean, you said they had not contacted us, but maybe we should, at least it's worth a phone call or something to see if if they are thinking of something.
Of course.
Okay, so we have a motion on the committee. We need the motion on the committee. So
Okay, I'll move that SETA and I be assigned to be a subcommittee to work with the Committee on Man's Inhumanity to Man.
Staff and the committee.
Staff to see if there's some event that this commission can partner with for the month of April.
And if we could have roll call.
You need a second,
Second.
but I also saw another volunteer on this end. I didn't know if your motion wanted to incorporate.
Yes, and including student members of hockey.
Okay. And now we need a second.
I'm
I'll
sorry.
second it.
And if we could have roll call, please.
Certainly. Vice Chair Burns.
Yes.
Commissioners Devine. Yes. Kojayan.
Yes.
Wiseman.
Yes.
Chair Miller.
Yes. Motion is so moved, and we look forward to hearing back from the subcommittee and staff on the direction for the commission. If we could go to the next item on the agenda, please.
Item 5C, update regarding the 10th Annual Jewels of Glendale Awards Luncheon. At 1 is a motion providing direction regarding the 2014 Jewels of Glendale Awards Luncheon.
And if we could have a report on this, please, Ms. Alexanian?
Sure. Chair Miller, members of the commission, the nomination period for the three awards, the Jewel of Glendale, Gemstone of Glendale, and Gem of Glendale, the nomination period was December 16th through February 9th. Staff has, as of today, received one application for the Gem of Glendale, one application for the Gemstone of Glendale, and 12 applications for the Jewel of Glendale. I know I believe it was the December meeting when we were setting the nomination period, there was discussion of possibly extending the deadline, and the reason we selected February 9th was to give Commission an opportunity to review the number of applicants and decide if you wish to extend the nomination period. So staff would like direction on that. So we wanted to report out that so far we have received 14 applications total. The sponsorship levels have been revised as recommended last month by the Commission. So the sponsorship levels for the GEM Student Scholarship and the Gemstone the Gemstone Veteran Scholarship are $1,000 each, and they would receive 4 seats or 4 tickets to the luncheon. Would have the opportunity to be in the program, a half-page ad, and the company logo and promotional media, and this is equivalent to the Emerald sponsor. So this was a change from last month's report. So staff wanted to highlight that. The other thing that staff wanted to bring to Commission's attention is the sale and purchase of tickets. Staff does recommend that the Commissioners be responsible for the sale or purchase of 10 tickets for this event, and I believe this has been recommended in previous years for all the Commissioners to work on the sale of tickets. And of course, the Commissioners are working on the silent auction items, and we have received a couple of commitments with Commissioner Kojayan's efforts. So staff would like to thank Commission for continuing to work on the silent auction items and urge the Commissioners to continue to work on this as it is one of the fundraising components of the luncheon.
Thank you. That is wonderful. Now, the next thing that the Commission has to look at is we have 12 Jewel, 1 Gemstone, and 1 Gem. And the Gem and the Gemstone are each the ones that are followed by a certain amount of money, $1,000 each, correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So, first question to the Commission is, do you want to extend the nomination period? To look at, let's say for a period of 1 week, to look at any of those Gem or Gemstones that historically we have extended the nomination period, but again, we did so based on the number. This year we've had a large number. So it would be, what does the Commission think?
Well, I'm going to say yes on the Gem and the Gemstone, because I just can't believe that We only have one student that's applying for this scholarship. Usually scholarships are $200 or $300. This is $1,000. Somebody doesn't know something about this scholarship. So I suggest that we extend it a week and perhaps get in touch with the schools and the counselors and Andrew Lee that was here and say, you know, this is what we have, and we don't have any applicants. We have one. And the vet, the same thing, and someone get in touch with GCC and say, you know, this, we're doing this. You were involved in this, and now we have one application, and we need an explanation for that. Maybe there's not a need for that, you know.
Commissioner Devine, staff did reach out to GUSD. Scott Anderley did actually announce it at the counselors' meeting himself, because unfortunately I found out about their meeting the day before, and I did have a meeting commitment during the time of their meeting. So he was kind enough to announce it at the counselors' meeting, and we did send reminder emails. We did personally reach out to GCC, and I did attend the Veterans Coalition meeting and did announce the opportunity at their meeting as well. And staff did send out reminder emails to the commission contact list. We had it out with the press release on the department's website, the city newsletter, the department newsletter. We took all measures to make sure that the community was aware. So we will, if commission wants to extend the nomination period for those two applications, we think that that would be a great idea, and we will reach out to GUSD and the Veterans Associations and GCC again to make sure that they are aware that the period has been extended, and encourage them to continue to nominate or self-nominate. So we will do our best to reach out to the community again. And I personally did put in a request to Glendale News Press to have it in their calendar section. So
Likewise, Ms. Alexani, and we as a commission will also do our best to continue that outreach. The staff has done a really pretty fantastic job. I've seen all the emails, so we thank you for that. I am wondering if we are going to extend it. I know I used the word, or I said the term, I threw out a week, but if we are asking staff to do that, if we might want to look at a period longer than a week that perhaps includes a weekend. For example, we're going into a holiday weekend here, aren't we?
Yes.
So we might want to look at February 20th or February 23rd. Does that upset anything in relation to invitations or anything at all in terms of our timeline?
I think that date would work if we want to look at the week of the 23rd. Again, that would be a weekend. If we want to give the community the opportunity to submit applications via email at least through the weekend, we could extend it to the 23rd. It just would put the committee for the selection of the honorees at a time crunch. But I think it should be fine as long as we could select the individuals by the second week of March. I think that
I
should
actually
work.
was suggesting that Friday before, which before that second weekend. We do a big push, you give them one weekend, and then it's that next Friday. Is that the 20th?
So the 16th?
21st? The 21st.
The 21st. So that would be a Friday.
A Friday. That gives one full weekend up through a following work week. And does that give staff enough time to help us with our outreach if you have to go back to some of the calls? Okay.
That
Yes.
should be fine.
Student ex officio.
I would just like
Sahakian.
to inform the commission that the link to the scholarship was on our Hoover High School website. My principal was asked, and I thank her for putting it on our website, as well as my counselor for putting it in the scholarship section. So maybe we can reach out to the schools and have each school put a link on the website, or have someone go to the Board of Education meeting and present there, or the PTA meetings, or something of that sort, to actually let the community know.
But the Board of Education is televised, so that would be a great
Exactly.
place to announce it. Has it gone there to President Nahabidian?
We have not attended the board meetings.
Is there one in the next 2 weeks?
staff would have to look into that. I'm
Okay.
not sure when their meetings are.
If there is, and also if you'd like a commissioner to accompany you, just put it out there to the commission, or if you'd like, so that staff isn't bearing all the burden of this. Okay. All right.
Just to make sure staff did receive the direction correctly, we are extending the nomination period through February 21st, Friday, till 5 p.m. for the gem and gemstone applications only. Correct? Or are we extending that for jewel as well?
I know that the request was for those only. I guess I would, does the commission have a thought on that?
I think it would be a great thing to
See, to me, it's one, if you extend one, you extend them all.
Yeah.
That's my belief system. But I'm one of 5, so let's hear from the rest of us and have a motion.
We have
12. It's irrelevant, though. To me, if you extend them, you extend them.
I agree.
Yeah.
No, you either extend everything or nothing.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear because I only heard feedback about the 2, so I just wanted to make
Appreciate
sure.
your clarity on that.
Can we take a motion on that, please, Chair Miller?
We need a motion.
Thank you.
So if we could have a motion to extend the nomination period to...
I'll move we extend the nomination period for all 3 awards, but push the 2 scholarships because we don't need to push the jewel.
I'll second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, motion is passed. Do you need any further direction from us at this time on the Jules luncheon?
No.
Okay, we would like to thank Commissioner Kajoyan. I will just put a little caveat out there to our viewing audience, that Commissioner Kajoyan has worked very hard on the items that will come in what we call a swag bag. So that alone should make you, in addition to the wonderful Women of Courage, and this being our 10th year, you also will want to come and attend and receive one of these wonderful bags with gifts. Thank you. Next item on the agenda.
Next item is 5D, update regarding the film screening of misrepresentation during Women's History Month.
And if we could have a report on this, Ms. Alexanian?
Sure, Chair Miller. This was an item that was brought forward to the Commission last month by the Associates of Brand Library and Art Center. And as part of the Real Art Film Series, they requested a co-sponsorship of a film screening of Misrepresentation, a film which exposes how mainstream media contributes to the underrepresentation of women in positions of power and influence in America. Staff just wanted to update the Commission that a date, location, and time have been identified for the film screening. The event will take place on March 25th at 7 p.m. at the Glendale Central Library Auditorium. Doors will open at 6:30 p.m. and there is free parking with validation at the Marketplace parking structure located at 120 South Maryland Avenue. And the film rights were purchased through the Library Arts and Culture Department, and that will allow the library to continue to screen the film at that location multiple times, and they also purchase an educational curriculum that goes along with the film, should they wish to use it at a future date. The speaker that has been identified for the moderated discussion for this event is Dr. Caroline Heldman. She has been secured as a speaker for the discussion after the film screening. Dr. Heldman is a featured expert in the film and the chair of the politics department at Occidental College. She is also a political commentator for MSNBC, Fox Business News, RT America, and Al Jazeera English. Dr. Heldman's work has been featured in the top journals in her field, including the American Political Science Review, the Journal of Politics, Political Psychology, and Political Communication. She co-edited the popular book, Rethinking Madame President, Is the U.S. Ready for a Woman in the White House? Her work has also been featured in popular publications, including the New York Times, U.S. News and World Report, Ms. Magazine, the Huffington Post, and the Daily Beast. This sounds like it's going to be a very interesting film and a great discussion afterwards. So staff just wanted to update the Commission and inform the public of the actual date and location of the event. The action does not the item does not require an action from the Commission, although it was listed as an action item, so it was just an information-only report.
Great. And again, if the commission could just be aware, this comes on the same evening that we will be going before City Council. City Council's at 6, this begins at 7 o'clock, so for any of you who are interested in attending the entire piece of it, that's greatly welcome. Also, do we have any of the materials or advertisements at all yet on this?
I'm sorry,
Any
Chairman.
flyers, any advertisement?
Not yet.
Okay.
We don't have anything yet, but once the Associates of Brand Library and Art Center, once they have their promotional materials, it will include the Commission's logo, and they will provide us with a copy to send out to our contact list. Chair Miller, I know that the date of the proclamation does fall on the date of the film screening. If Commission wants to consider changing the date of the proclamation, we could do so. We could look into changing the date to the week before in March so that it's not a problem, or the first week in April, if you so wish. I don't want,
Does anybody have any overarching thoughts on either of that? It matters, given that I know I didn't bring up that date for any reason whatsoever. Thank you, staff, for being so kind on that, but if we're committed to something commissioned that evening, we might as well be committed. At least that's my impression, instead of being committed for 8 weeks straight every Tuesday.
Sure, that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and thank you again to our collaborators on this from the Brand Central Library, the Associates of the Brand Library and the Art Center that we're working with. We're very excited about this. And now, if we could go to the next item on the agenda, please.
Item 6B, Commission on the Status of Women's 2014 Master Calendar of Events.
And if everyone could just again, take a look at the calendar. Next month, March, is Women's History Month. If we could all be thinking about a very interesting and compelling speaker that we might recommend to staff, the more that we have input into this, the easier it is for them in terms of our staff, in terms of collaborating with us. Thank you to whoever suggested our speaker today, by the way. Okay, we're ready for the next item on the agenda.
Item 7, Commissioner Staff Comments.
Okay. If we could start over here with our student ex officio, Rima Sahakian, please.
So I actually have an announcement. It's about the Break the Cycle organization that many of our commissioners and our presenter, Dr. Anderley, spoke about. So Break the Cycle is an organization that has reached out to more than 1 million young people to promote healthy relationships. They proudly host Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, which is this month, the month of February, a national effort to raise awareness about abuse in teen relationships and programs to prevent it. So specifically, this week is Respect Week. It is until Friday the 14th, and they ask that everyone join their efforts in promoting anti-violence in teen relationships. So here are things that you can actually do. You can download the Respect Week guide, which is on their website, www.loveisrespect.org. You can wear orange tomorrow, which is the color for anti-dating violence, tomorrow, which is Tuesday, February 11th. And you can join the Wear Orange Facebook event on Facebook that the organization has created. And you can make a statement online by signing up for the National Respect announcement. And I actually looked at some of their websites, their Instagram, the Twitter. The Instagram is Love is Respect Official, and the Twitter is Love is Respect. So on their websites, they actually have all of the information that I spoke about. So if you are interested in looking at that, I recommend you do so.
Commissioner Devine?
Break out my orange tomorrow, okay. Several of us, Commissioner Kajayan and I, attended the DATEV luncheon for domestic violence
No, I didn't.
You weren't there? Who was there?
I was
Sharon
there.
Weissman. Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. Yeah, and it was very good, and they are off to a brilliant start in their program to help victims of domestic violence in the Armenian community, and I wish them all the luck in the world. I also attended, this is the one I attended with Commissioner Kajayan, and that was the Winter Wonderland, and we did the snow, and it was amazing and fun, and the kids were delighted, and I'd forgotten how much fun it was to be a kid in the snow, and so that brought back some great memories. Valentine's Day, if you don't have any plans, Glendale Healthy Kids is having a great party at Perch. We're going to have interactive food stations. There's free valet parking, champagne, pictures. You can even shower while you're there because, you know, everything works at Perch. So anyway, it's 75. We're going to be taking pictures and the people in the shower. No. With their clothes on. No. Okay, anyway. If you'd like to attend, it's $75 a person, $130 a couple. All you have to do is go to sharon@glendalehealthykids.org and make a reservation and come on down. It's going to be a lot of fun. The last thing is on March 15th, Lisa Babari is hosting again the 3E event at the Castaways, Evoke, Embrace, and Evolve. And there's going to be a special presentation to the police department, so it should be very special. It is a day dedicated to women. And if you're interested, you can go to eventbrite, BRITE.com/the 3E event to make your reservation. That's March 15th. Thank you.
Vice Chair Burns?
Well, the 51st annual prayer breakfast is coming up March 13th at the Civic Auditorium. The keynote speaker will be Charlene Tilton, whom some of us know as, what's her name?
Dallas. I don't remember that.
What was her name on Dallas?
Charlene.
Was it Charlene?
No,
Is this a trivia question?
it should be.
Oh,
Who do we?
I was too young.
Oh, okay. Well, Charlene Tilton, who was J.R.'s granddaughter on Dallas. Come on, guys.
Lucy.
Lucy.
Yay, see, I
Lucy
knew.
Ewing
Three of us.
is
I
going to
knew.
be- And Lucy Ewing is now 55 years old.
Wow.
So she'll be really bringing an exciting story of her life. So we're looking forward to having Lucy come to the prayer breakfast. And any information, you can certainly come through me as far as tickets and availability.
You're giving out your number.
Sure. Which number should I give out?
Anyone you want?
818-507-7964. The invitations are on the way. If you want to request an invitation, just call, and we'll make sure that you get one. And as you all know, this is the 51st breakfast, so anyone that's gone 20 or 30 years knows what's going to happen. It should be fun. And Lucy should be a terrific speaker.
I'm coming.
You're coming?
Yeah.
Well, you're 55 or over.
Could you repeat the number, Commissioner?
Your
Chair,
number?
Vice Chair. Vice Chair.
818. My phone number?
Yes.
Oh, the breakfast.
The breakfast.
51st.
And the number for it?
Phone number.
Phone number, your number.
Could you
It's your
repeat the
number.
number? Could you repeat the number?
507
Yes.
7964.
Thank you very much.
And I really think that this will be a fabulous breakfast. All of us come and have it. Oh, I know I do. Well, how can you go
And it is. And
over
it is.
Pat Boone?
I know. That's right.
We couldn't even remember who it was.
Thank you, Vice Chair Burns, and thanks for all the work you're doing on the luncheon as well. Commissioner Kajoyan?
Saturday, I guess it was January 18, I attended with Chair Miller and Commissioner Devine the Association of California Commissions for Women at Mount St. Mary's College, and it was a very good experience for me. And I was honored. I met very experienced women, and it was very good educational summit or seminar. On January 14, I attended appreciation reception at City Clerk office with all my commissioner was there too. On January 23rd, excuse me, with Chair Miller and Burns and Wiseman, we attended the grant celebration luncheon given by Dignity Health Glendale Memorial Hospital and Health Center. Also, I would like to say it was very successful event, Winter Wonderland, and we have more than 6,000 people attended that 2 days, and the kids, they had fun. We brought snow in Glendale. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Weissman?
Yes, thank you. I want to share with the group on February 7th, that was last Friday night, the Crescenta Valley United Methodist Church's Read and Practice Peace Group had a screening of a documentary called Not My Life about human trafficking. It was a difficult film to watch because of the very painful experiences of some of the victims of human trafficking that were featured there, but it's very necessary to understand these practices if we want to stop the event, these kinds of things. After the screening, the group, the RAP group, Read and Practice Peace, had laptop computers available to send messages via a website called chainstorereaction.com. That's all together, chainstorereaction.com. It's an organization that asks corporations to verify that their suppliers do not use forced labor. And it's continuous. You can pick as many corporations as you'd like or suggest organizations to write the form letters to. And RAP also had cards available from something called the Polaris Project, A World Without Slavery, with the National Human Trafficking Resource Center phone number for people to carry with them in case they see someone who might be a victim of trafficking or at risk. And I brought some cards to share with the group, so if you can take some and pass them along, and contact the number there if you see anything suspicious. They very much recommended contacting your local police agencies if you see something suspicious. Better to have it checked out than to allow a victim to continue. And I noticed in the newspaper the very next day there was an article that reported a 17-year-old girl that had been involved in human trafficking was stabbed to death in Yorba Linda. That's right here in Southern California. These things are going on. And I'd like to mention also the next film that the Read and Practice Peace group is doing with United Methodist is called Unmanned, America's Drone War. And to tie it in, drones kill many civilians, including women and children, and also the expense that our taxes go to support these kind of drones take money away from support for women and girls, including grants here in Glendale, so there is a tie-in here. And this showing, the film is Unmanned, America's Drone War, and it'll be shown on March 14th at the Crescenta Valley United Methodist Church, 2700 Montrose Avenue in Montrose. And again, there'll be discussion following, and I recommend it. I think it's important to get involved, so I hope we see some people there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. I wanted to share with you an amazing experience that I got to for the first time. The ACCW Winter Retreat at the Doheny Mansion, which they so kindly provided us with a book on the last day. It was an amazing experience because there were so many women who were going for the same thing, which was equality and which was pushing for the woman. Just any opportunity they could to help her. Was it human trafficking through veterans help? It was an all-around experience for me. We had speakers from Senator Carol Liu to Rebecca Blanton from the California State CSW. And on the last day, we shared what our commissions did the last 2 days. And one of the products the resources that they gave us was packet that showed the NACW, which was an all-around conclusive report statewide, which I would like to share with you right now. If you could pass it around, thank you very much. And it was very enlightening because of all the resources they gave us, and also on the subject of women in construction, there's a product or resource they gave us, which was Women Building, California and the Nation, which was April 25th to the 27th in Sacramento at the Sheraton Grand. And it's a conference discussing women's construction's roles within that field, and it's a very interesting guide. And thank you for that, for allowing me to experience that. And I'm going to share that with my high school peers, and it's a very, very cool experience. That's all.
Thank you. Commissioner Devine? Of course.
We were so proud.
Oh, can you please turn on your mic?
Right. We were so proud of you at the meeting. She asked fabulous questions. She was so mature, and everyone was just kind of looking at her, and finally we just said, well, you know, she's an ex officio on our commission, and it was just really wonderful that you were there, and you just really did make us proud.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Devine, I would also congratulate you on your election run, and I would like to wish you the best. No.
What I would also like you to know, student ex officio Mirza Haqqani, and going on what Commissioner Devine said, I'm pretty sure that the 12 other commissions at our retreat probably added a student ex officio after meeting you, and likewise, I'm sure when they would meet student ex officio Sahakian as well. That retreat was exceptional. It was here in Los Angeles, and it was a pleasure for all of us to be there together. I know this has been brought up, but it cannot go without being said just one more time with great emphasis how thankful and grateful this commission is to Dignity Health. We did all attend a luncheon where we received a grant. That grant is going to help us significantly with Camp Rosie. Dignity Health, as you know, is Glendale Memorial Hospital, and we are very pleased to be a community partner with them on our signature program, Camp Rosie. I also attended the Educational Foundation along with Commissioner Devine this past weekend at the Hilton, and it was really pretty fantastic to see all the wonderful things that all the wonderful people and talent that we have in Glendale, from Paul Ignatius to retired police chief Rhonda Pompa to Shant Sahakian. So if you get a chance, look up the Dancing in the Diamonds. I almost won the diamond, by the way. That's no joke, but ask me, really, the number they called was the number I originally picked until I put my glass back, but you can ask me about that separately because I almost actually won. But almost doesn't count, right? So the other thing that I wanted to do was give a big shout out to our neighbors in Eagle Rock, and the only reason I would go this far to do that is the Women's 20th Century Club of Eagle Rock is celebrating their 100th anniversary. So many of those women come to Glendale, they support our events. One of their board members is the chair of the Pasadena Commission on the Status of Women, that's Ann Wolf, and she also is a retiree of Occidental College. But the Women's 20th Century Club is a fabulous clubhouse. They'll be having events all year that support and elevate women, and I hope that if we can venture out of Glendale, we might go support our neighbors in some of their events. As you can see, we're all wearing red for Valentine's Day. February is also Heart Month. It's also with a heavy heart that I actually just identify a couple of things that have taken place in our community. Last year, we had a speaker that came before us. Her name was Terry Olivias de la O. She was our May speaker, and she came with her daughter, Infinity Nicole, and they spoke about anti-bullying. Terry has been an occupational therapy practitioner for 30 years. She has been a beloved practitioner of my profession. She's well known for all of her advocacy work, both here in Sacramento on the Hill, as well as Washington, D.C. on the Hill. She was one that really was a forerunner on the whole thought process of anti-bullying. Along with her daughter, she started the company Family Success by Design. She also was the person who was responsible for the Young Women's Summit, which focused on anti-bullying, as well as the first Young Men Latinos Conference. It is with sadness that I let the community know that Terry, very soon after coming before us as a commission, began to fall ill throughout most of the remaining of 2013, and just last week she passed away from brain cancer. It is something that wears on this community in Glendale, Monrovia, San Gabriel. So many of us know Terry both in the community and nationally, and the reaching out to her daughter, Infinity Nicole, has been significant. At a later date, the funeral is coming up this week. I will be attending, and I will be letting Infinity know that the tape is available for her to come, and at a later date, should she choose, she'll be able to come before us as a commission so that we may all reach out during this very sad time for that family. And with that, I would like to close the meeting in her honor at 7:34 p.m.